wish to make our position plain beyond any matter of doubt as regards the African continent. We in Nigeria appreciate the advantages which the size of our country and of its population give us, but we have absolutely no aggressive intentions. We shall never impose ourselves upon any other country and shall treat every African territory, big or small, as our equal, because we honestly feel that it is only on that basis of equality that peace can be maintained in our continent.
Nigerian history can never be told without mentioning of the name Sir AbubakarTafawa Balewa, born in 1912 and died in 1966, with a lot of legacies left behind. A visit to his tomb here in Bauchi City will reveal to you the struggle of this hero for the freedom of the country Nigeria. For example, right from the entrance of the main tomb, one will meet a progressively uphill, signifying the educational background of the Prime Minister. From the Tafawa Balewa Elementary School in 1922 up to when he graduated at the London University College in 1946. The next stage you will come across is the first dark tunnel, which represents the toils of independence, struggle and sacrifice of great leaders which he faced collectively with other colleagues like Ahmadu Bello, Obafemi Awolowo, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, and a host of others. As one keeps moving, you will reach a point where light rays glimpsed, which implied a hope for the Nigerian nation, while the second dark within the tunnel and a full light later is representing the final struggle made and freedom for the realization of the country Nigeria. Again, just before reaching the grave are two different sloping steps downward, indicating the difference in leadership styles between that of the colonial masters and that of the late Prime Minister. While that of the colonial masters is very wide, that of Tafawa Balewa's is very close, indicating close relationship in his leadership with his colleagues. The tiles laid in front of the grave are separated with holes portraying the civil disturbance and crisis Nigeria faced after his death. Malam Salisu Dogoji is one of the educational guide officers at the tomb, where he explained further for News Searchlight.
There is a background that is show educational background of Tafawa Balewa. From the gate, then when you enter, you can see there's a darkness. This darkness means when Nigeria were under colonial master. By that time, the history is the longest history. It started from 1900 to date. So the darkness signifies when Nigeria, when we are under colonial master, we are struggle for them. So in that light, darkness, there is a ray of light. This ray of light means when Nigeria, by the time colonial masters, this light means there is hope for freedom.
He also said that the different colors of marble tiles on the wall represent different ethnic groups in the country, while the open space at the grave center is representing the open-mindedness of the late Prime Minister.
When you see this step, that means it shows when Abubakar was assassinated in Nigeria in 1966, we have many crises encountered by that time because Abubakar was assassinated. That means the first Prime Minister of Nigeria was assassinated in 1960. So we have civil disturbance in Nigeria. That's when we look at our state, it crack step. That means civil disturbance when Abubakar was assassinated. And when you look at it, our wall, you can see different ethnic groups. In Nigeria, we are mixed in culture. That's when the difference of this color you can find different ethnic group in Nigeria. But we have three major languages: Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba. But at least we have 365 languages. But
another important place in the tomb is the center for the exhibition of the life and times of the late Prime Minister, where some of his personal belongings and that of the country are kept for generations to see. Among some of the archives in the museum are his bed, wristwatch, television and radio set, which surprisingly are all still working, and first petroleum dug in Nigeria, as well as the academic gown given to him by the AbubakarTafawa Balewa University when it confers on him honorary doctorate degree at its first convocation years after his death, among other things. Malam Ali Saje Azare is the documentary officer at the museum, who also explained further for New Searchlight.
The exhibition was set up by National Commission for Museums and Monuments to upgrade the mausoleum of fallen heroes. One is Tafawa Balewa. So we, the commission, were giving a mandate to upgrade this one, this particular one. So that's why we set up an exhibition, a repeating exhibition, life and time of Sir AbubakarTafawa Balewa.
In our interview with the first male child of the late Prime Minister Alhaji Yakubu AbubakarTafawa Balewa, he recalled on some of the good gestures of his father.
Be accommodative to whomever comes across. I think this is all that I could presently remember. But all the children were brought up together, though that some were, brought up in Lagos. Me and 4 or 5 of our, sisters and brothers were brought up down in Bauchi under the custody of our grandmother.
Also, some of the staff at the tomb and his first son called on government to give attention to this national monument.
And is part of the museum's activities to engage the state government in upgrading the museums. So we want in future this place to be a museum place, as a well-fledged museum.
I've been saying it that not so much should be look around, but the way people were complaining that if that is a national monument, there shouldn't have been a commercial things around it. People dropping things, like those who are putting their things when they come from, where do you call it, other countries or states. It's just a part of the market. You can see how they are uploading their things and taking off. A lot of people have been complaining, and I approach people, but nothing comes up.
Today, the AbubakarTafawa Balewa University, the teaching hospital, and the international airport in Bauchi are all named after him, in addition to many others across the country. If you are one of those who has never visited this monument, either within Bauchi town or elsewhere, it will interest you to do so. In Bauchi, Abdul Hakim Muhammad reporting for News Searchlight.